Welcome back to Grace, Love, and Service, a podcast of St. John Evangelical Lutheran Church in East Liverpool, Ohio. I'm Pastor Eric Edwards here with Josh Grafton, and today we're getting to know our guest, Andrew McCarty. Andrew, thanks for being on the podcast today. We're really glad to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Good. Andrew, so we start this podcast out with the same question to each person. Tell us your faith story.
Oh, boy. I don't ever remember a time when I didn't have faith in my life. I was born into the church, baptized, confirmed, all the things. I started off, I was baptized Catholic. My dad was raised Catholic, so I was baptized Catholic. And we went to the Catholic Church for a while I was very, very young. I don't remember going, that's how young I was. But for most of my faith life, I was a Presbyterian at Longs Run Presbyterian Church. Later became Longs Run Trinity. Sunday school, youth group, confirmation, all the things took place there. That was like the biggest chunk of my faith journey was at the Presbyterian Church. Reverend Kramer, shout out to Reverend Kramer, if you're listening. He was like the main focal point of my faith journey. Later on, somebody, when Reverend Kramer retired, a man by the name of Reverend Ballard came in, and he was like our interim pastor, and he kind of reshaped like my outlook on faith and things like that. He was tremendous, even though he was only with us for about a year. He really I don't know, he just kind of made an impact on my faith. And then around COVID, right before COVID hit, we had a little bit of a change at Longs Run, and my family and I thought about it for a very, very long time and prayed about it, and we made a very, very difficult but much needed decision to leave Longs Run Trinity. And having known Pastor Eric from youth group, we were involved in youth group for
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four.
Back in the day. Gosh, what year? How long ago was that? I was probably fifth, sixth grade. It would have been 17 years ago was when I met you, because you were already.
I'm gonna throw up.
You were already kind of mid-teenager at that point, and your younger sister was kind of palling around.
Yeah,
with
she
everyone.
wasn't even technically allowed to be in it, but she was in it. Yeah,
but your mom was working with us and the things like that, and so she was in it. But
yeah, it was Grace, Grace Presbyterian and Longs Run and Trinity at the time and Emmanuel.
It's half your lifetime ago.
Yeah, that's wild. Anyway, but St. John was part of the youth group that I was in at the time. So when we made the decision to leave Longs Run Trinity, my mom actually reached out to Pastor Eric and was like, do you have any recommendations, or what's your church like and things like that. So we ended up trying it out. We made it to a whole 2 services before we got shut down for COVID. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
We literally made it to 2 services, and it was the first week of March. We were newly, not even used to the liturgy or anything yet, and bam, COVID shut us down.
We're like, hey, if Andrew McCarty's going to start coming here, guys, we're going to close for 6 months.
So we watched online for a while, and then when we opened back up, we started coming on a regular basis, and then we went through the new membership classes and all that kind of stuff. And then here we are, still here to this day. What's it, 5 years later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been Catholic, you've been Presbyterian, you've been Lutheran.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. I think it's always good to not just sort of accept that sort of faith that's handed to you necessarily and say, well, I was born into a Catholic family or a Presbyterian family or a Lutheran family, but to say, what actually matches up with my beliefs and where do I feel comfortable? What did you kind of, now that you know about the Catholic Church, you know about the Presbyterian Church, you know about the Lutheran Church, what do you take out of each of them? How does each one kind of inform who you are as a child of God?
That's a great question. So if we rewind a little bit back to when we first started coming to St. John, I tell everybody that I meet this story. When I met you and first started going to youth group, I just thought you were this silly, crazy, funny guy.
I was.
You were.
Still is.
You still are. Yeah. But when we had that first meeting for the new member class and you drew that diagram up on the board where you were explaining like
the spectrum where
how
free will is.
How you get to heaven.
Yeah.
Yes. And you literally like, you were like, you're going to heaven. Like, I can't even begin to describe to you like the weight that was lifted off my shoulders. Because my whole life I had been taught that everything I do, no matter what, is not good enough. Nothing I ever do is good enough. Nothing I will ever do is good enough. And nothing, you have to keep working and working and working and putting everything to try to earn your way to heaven.
But it will never be good enough.
Correct.
So you will always go to hell.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you drew that diagram and we had that discussion, it was a very eye-opening and very heart-opening conversation. And I remember I literally like was in tears that day. I was like, this is where we're meant to be. Like, this is where I want to continue to like develop my faith journey.
It's all grace.
I'm wearing a bracelet right now. I wore it special for today because I've been going through some tough times lately, and I wear this bracelet that says "Saved by Grace," just as like a constant reminder. Like, you don't have to earn it. Like,
you can't.
Right.
He already earned it for you. There's nothing you can do that can take that away. And that really is like what sets Lutheranism apart from Catholic faith, in my opinion, and the Presbyterian faith. I mean, I don't, and I hate talking about like in a negative zone, but in my experience, I've been told, well, if you sin and you do this, and then you come to God and you confess it, and then you go and do it again, are you really sorry, or is He going to forgive you? And like, I was like, as a kid, you're like, no. Like, if somebody did that to me, like, I wouldn't forgive them. If you keep sinning and keep doing the same thing again, and then you're like, oh, I'm sorry. Is He really going to forgive you? No, I wouldn't. So that's my whole life.
And that's why Jesus is Jesus and you're not, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So my whole life I've been told and kind of indoctrinated with this, like, you're nothing and you're not good enough. And it just got to the point where it was so unhealthy to where I was convinced that I was going to hell, no matter what I did, no matter the things that I did or how much money I gave to the church. I was giving I gave like a $2,500 donation at one point, just like to try to like get this like weight off my shoulders, just to try to feel like I was doing something. I was donating things. I was contributing food. I was doing all these things just to try to do it. And one of the things that you said during this first new member meeting that we had that was just like really resonated with me was, it's not what you have to do, it's what you get to do. And that completely like shifted my entire vision and like my entire mentality around faith, God, Jesus, grace, mercy. Like, it just completely changed my outlook. Like, you don't have to do these things. It's what you get to do because you're saved, because He died for your sins, and because you have this grace, you get to live every day free, and you get to go out into the world and give of yourself because you want to, not because you have to earn your way into heaven or to buy your way into heaven, but because you get to go to heaven. Thanks be to God. Like, go do it now. Like, and it was just
what's your
like
response?
This, literally,
Yeah.
it was just eye-opening to me. And I just remember thinking, like, in addition to so many other things, like some of your sermons just really like resonated and hit home. And like, I'm pretty like open when it comes to like my faith and stuff. And I'll tell people all the time, like, Jesus loved everybody, not straight, white, and anything like that,
Right.
like, and in your sermons, you talk a lot about how He welcomes everybody to the table, everybody, period. No, everybody but, or everybody unless, it's everybody, period.
Absolutely.
And that really like resonated with me because, or what, like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all people of God. We're all children of God. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, this is where like I belong. This is where I don't know. It was just very eye-opening to me. So, yeah.
I'm glad to hear that class impacted somebody else too, because I walked out of there feeling good too. That diagram moved me too. Where it's like, all right, here's the good news. What are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm gonna help.
I'm gonna do all these things. I'm gonna like have birds land on my shoulders.
I feel
like
free.
Snow White.
So for those of you who are listening and playing the home game right now, if you've never been to a new member class, the diagram that they're talking about has 3 different versions of how we get to heaven, and it's got a stick figure with a person on the ground. This is not my diagram, by the way. This was given to me.
I was gonna ask, did you create this?
I did not create
We're
this.
gonna trademark it.
I wish I were this.
Before you
brilliant.
continue, it's like I want you to picture the most like elementary school art class. Like no offense.
Oh, it is garbage
no
art.
offense.
Oh, it's
It
not
is
great.
garbage art.
He's like, here's heaven, and it's like
And
a
heaven's
cloud.
like a cloud.
And then here's hell, and
With an
there's
H in
a little fire.
and then he clarifies, heaven's not in the clouds.
Right, you got to unpack
and like
that a
stick
bit.
figures, no details or anything. It's like the most basic thing, and I'm like sitting there like, where is he going with this? And then he ends up changing your entire life. It's like,
He tells you there's no wrong answer, but you feel like there is a wrong
there's
answer.
for sure a wrong answer.
Well, there's not a wrong answer until I tell you what the right answer is, and then there are wrong answers. But the diagram itself, as Andrew pointed out, is very rudimentary. It should be in a cave painting somewhere next to a bison or something like that. But it has 3 different ways of getting to heaven. And the first one, the person has to do all of these different things, right? You got to go to church. You got to serve in the soup kitchen. You got to be on a podcast. You have to do all these different things.
Have to do.
That's the important part. You have to make all these check marks, and that earns your spot in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is you have to do all of these things, but you're never going to be good enough. And so God's grace covers the rest.
Like an insurance policy.
Yeah. Like you do your best. And maybe if you made enough check marks, you get the rest in. The third one is that we don't even get our feet off the ground. It's that all of the grace comes down to us, that it's all Jesus Christ and his actions in our lives and in the world that saves us. Now, that doesn't mean we don't do our stuff that we're supposed to do. Those things now become the response to what's been given. So Jesus loved you first. What do? You go and love your neighbor. Jesus served you first. What do? You go and serve your neighbor. Jesus forgave you first. Go forgive your neighbor.
To know that you were loved and saved no matter what lets you start to love yourself, and in response, love everybody else. That's kind of how it works.
The journey that I'm on right now.
Yes,
is like
learning to look.
loving myself.
Andrew, I'm right there with you.
Yep, that's the part of our
I'm on a
lives
tour of forgiveness, and it's got to start with myself.
for sure.
Well, I
don't
think
know
that a
if
lot of people go through that sort of self-loathing type of, which to be fair, the church historically has not done a great job with. The idea that Andrew had talked about, where like you're going to do all these things and you're just going to be human garbage and it's not going to matter.
Yeah, Andrew and I are over here uninstalling 30-year-old software in our brains where we've never been good enough, whether parents, church, whoever tells you, and now you have to redo that. You have to update it.
Well, and to have that voice be equated with God is dangerous, right? Like God's looking at you going, not good enough.
I call it faith trauma or like spiritual trauma.
Yeah.
I literally I've coined that phrase, like spiritual trauma. Like I've talked to my counselor about it. I've talked to my parents about it. I've talked to a lot of people about it. It's like you said, you're literally trying to undo all of this damage and this trauma, and there's no other word to describe it. I don't use the T word, as my counselor would call it. Like, I don't throw that around lightly. Like, as a teacher, I've seen trauma, and I've experienced it every day with my kiddos and with things like that. There's no other way to describe it than trauma, because you are constantly being downplayed and told that you're not enough, and told that there is no other church than this. There is no other faith in this. There is no other. There's this, that, all these things that you're indoctrinated with all your entire life. And then all of a sudden somebody's telling you, like, you're good enough. I don't believe you. Like, and I'm sure you remember, like, I was the lone holdout. My mom and my sister were like, they signed the papers, and I had to take them home, and I had to like think about it for like, I think I was like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
it was gorgeous.
I was the lone holdout on, I wasn't sure if I was ready for this. Like, I didn't know if, like, I was like, this is great. Like, I get the diagram. I see the diagram. I see all of this. But, and I kept saying, like, but, there's always a but, right? Like, there is no but. Like,
there's no butology to this.
Right. It's there, and the grace is there. You just have to receive it. And that's hard for me to like process. Like, how am I good enough, or how could I ever be good enough or worthy enough to receive this incredible blessing of grace and mercy? And that's the part of my life where I'm at right now, where I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, like I know I'm saved, and I still have this in the back of my head, like somebody's telling me you're not good enough. So it's trying to overcome that while also trying to serve others and do what we're called to do, but reprogramming myself and learning to love myself at the same time. So it's a lot, and I can see where you're coming from with that. So
I do wonder how many people, just even in this local community, that class would help free up, but
only if you're Lutheran at your core, because Lutheran theology speaks to people who are deeply Lutheran. I'm sitting at a table right now with some deeply Lutheran people.
Well, this is also the main criticism against us that I hear when I tell people I'm Lutheran, because they don't want it for free. They think it's some kind of badge of honor to go out there and earn it. And I'm like, I don't think you can.
But that's the American culture that we live in.
We live in a Western.
Right. You get what you deserve. You have what you earn. Nothing is given to you freely. And if you are a freeloader, and it is okay to freeload off of Jesus' grace.
I'll take it.
Yeah. It's a pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing that we can't pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We don't even have bootstraps.
No.
We're that pitiful.
I've shared so many of your sermons on Facebook, and I've made comments to friends that I work with, colleagues, and people that I meet. I'm like, give him 5 minutes.
All right, I need to do this too. I need to stop being so embarrassed about it.
Like, give him 5 minutes. You talking about like Pastor Eric. Give Pastor Eric 5 minutes. He will completely change your entire perspective on faith. Like, if you even think that you might even be a little bit religious, and you're like, I don't know God. I've never known God. Like, we've never gone to church. Like, give him 5 minutes, and he will completely change your entire
at least take
faith.
The weight off of your shoulders.
Yeah. You're setting the bar really high.
No pressure. No pressure.
Do you remember how to draw the stick figures?
It's permanently on the board at this point.
Okay, then we're good.
I think it's right after I drew those stick figures for your class. We covered up that board with a sheet so that we could put Zoom Bible study up when COVID was going on, and the sheet never came down. So your classes is probably still there, probably with Andrew's marking underneath. Like,
here's Andrew burning in hell down there because he's never going to be good enough.
There's the voice again. Right. There's the voice is burning in hell, and that is the one piece that I love about Lutheran theology, is that as a baptized child of God, you are dead, buried, and out of the way. Like, you don't have that question in the back of your head. It is a guarantee, because your baptism and the grace of God and those promises that are made by God are so strong that there's nothing that you could possibly ever do to undo that. If that were the case, then you're more powerful than God is. But God was the one that made the promise. Therefore, God's the only one that can say, deal's off. And that's not a choice God makes, because you're his beloved child. And who turns their back on their beloved child?
But do you still hear the voice in the back of your head?
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right.
I do too.
And we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
We've had this very conversation. Like, you're still going to have that voice in the back of your head, but that's when you need like almost like that physical reminder. And I know you have your baptismal certificate. I have not been able to acquire mine yet.
Do I need to write you one?
Well, I was baptized Catholic, so I'm not sure how to go about getting it, but
contact the church you're baptized at, and if they don't have it, they can reproduce it.
That's when you need like that, almost like that physical reminder, like a
but I am baptized
or something. Yes. Yeah, like you almost need that, like. And I think that was like the second question that you're about to ask me. But like,
he's looked ahead.
But like, coming to church on Sundays and like worshiping, like our worship service and our liturgy just like sits with me so right, and it just feels so right when I am here, that when you miss church on a Sunday, you just almost don't feel like you got your bucket filled for the week. Like, you're just drawing from an empty bucket. So that's like part of the reason why I love coming here so much, is just that's where I feel closest to God. Like, you literally can't get any closer than when you're standing in that sanctuary, you're receiving his body, his blood, like you're there. And so is he. Like, he's there with you.
What is that for you? What is that sort of precious moment of that worship service where you're like, you can't, I love it all. Come on, man. But there's a moment that you're like, this is it.
I can
right
tell you
here.
exactly. Right in the middle of the holy, holy, holy.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.
Mine too.
Oh,
I can tell you why. Because one of the first Sundays we started coming here, I was singing that song and I was still reading from the hymnal. Now I have it memorized, so, But I was still reading from the book and I said, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And I just got this chill down my spine. It was almost like he was here in the presence. And as a Lutheran, for those of you who don't know, we believe in true presence during communion. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yes. Real presence. Yes.
What's that? In, around, and under?
In, around.
All those great words. In, with, through, under, around the elements. The bread remains bread. The wine remains wine. But Christ is in, with, through, around, under, making them the body and blood of Christ and being truly present with us in that moment.
You can feel that presence. You can feel the Holy Spirit there with you. And it's, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, man. Here he is.
And that presence is non-judgmental, right?
Right.
It's not he's here to tell me I'm garbage.
That presence makes my kids behave and be quiet during communion, so it works. It's here.
Oh, Jesus is here, everyone. Look, get on your best.
He's here. No, that's the moment though. That's
nice.
the truly special moment. And then communion's coming right after that, so you're about to receive that sacrament. You're about to, So yeah, that's the moment.
And the kind of neat part of communion for you is that you have existed in 3 different styles of what communion means. The Catholic, transubstantiation, where you have this is body, this is blood, that transformation of those elements. You have the Presbyterian, which is more of a remembrance meal of we do this in remembrance type of a thing, and you have Lutherans with a real presence. So you've experienced sort of.
We had this conversation
there.
during that class too. I think it was Mike that maybe brought it up, where he was like, I feel like I'm committing religion adultery or something, like you're cheating on your religion or something. Because we really have. We've been Catholic, we've been Presbyterian, now Lutheran.
You can stop there.
But I think
So
I think there's something cool about it, seeing from different perspectives and seeing different beliefs and seeing how different people believe. There's nothing against Catholicism or anything. I think it's so beautiful that you truly believe that is the body and blood of Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
There's something so beautiful about that. And the same thing with Presbyterianism. There was never any question about it. It was just, this is the body given for you. I was 4 or 5 years old taking communion at Long's Run. They didn't withhold it from anybody. There was no you have to take first communion classes or you have to go through any of these. It was open to everybody. Everybody could take it. And I know that we have first communion classes here and stuff, but it's not withheld from anybody.
Yeah.
That's another thing about Lutheranism that really struck a chord with me was everybody is welcome at the table. It's not if you're Catholic, if you're Presbyterian, if you're a certain age, if you're, everybody's welcome.
The only restriction that Lutherans have, separate churches have different ages and things like that. We've abolished our age, and if we said when the child starts to express this interest in it, when their parents feel like they're ready, we have this conversation and we kind of do this class with them so they know what they're doing. The only other quote restriction is that you need to be baptized because it's a meal for the baptized.
Right.
I broke this rule, Andrew. I didn't know.
Don't get me in trouble.
You didn't know either.
Dear presiding bishop, I cannot. I am sorry.
It was actually a member.
I fall on the grace of God.
It was a longtime member of your congregation who misinformed me, and I was like, "All right, I'll go."
Who was it?
No,
I'm gonna corner him.
No names. We'll bleep it out.
I'm gonna corner him.
It was Dan Dietz.
We'll edit that.
And then he tries to tell me to do it again later, and I'm like, I can't. I'm
you're pulling one over on Jesus.
I'm like, I can't do this. And he turns around and he goes, "Man, he's allowed to, right?" And she's like, "No, he's not allowed. It's not really a great rule, but."
Right.
But at the same time, there's a little bit of ridiculousness to the Lutheran rule in that because one can come before the other, in my opinion. So for those who don't know Josh's story, and we'll be interviewing Josh at a later date, Josh and his family, Josh and his kids actually were unbaptized when they came here. And that first Sunday he took communion and then found out that it was a meal for the baptized. He was like, what do I do now? But Josh also had this intention of being baptized. So it was kind of like,
You know what?
They're
Though?
out of order, but whatever.
It meant nothing to me because I didn't.
Communion didn't?
I didn't know what we were doing there. I felt silly and weird, and then over time watching everybody, and then it was my first time. It was very meaningful.
I recall the Sunday you were baptized, of watching you at communion, and it was very different.
That was deep. That was a very spiritual moment, actually. Mm-hmm. The first real big one in this church, I think.
That's awesome.
No, it was the prayer vigil. That was the first real big one.
Good Friday prayer vigil. It's my favorite moment of the year. I love the prayer vigil.
This year was my first prayer vigil as well. It was a
very intense.
Yeah, Jesus and I had it out.
Yeah, there was a lot of lamentation in there.
Yeah. Jesus and I had a long conversation. I was in here for what, like 3 hours?
Yeah. So again, for those of you playing the home game, we do a prayer vigil on Good Friday that's open to the public, but we always have one person in the sanctuary praying. They're kind of the designated prayer of the moment. And you take a half an hour chunk and it goes from 5 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. And you pray in whatever style you want to. And people come and go and we make sure that, the church is quiet and it's a great event, really. And a good time for prayer before the worship service on Good Friday. And it's funny that you brought up the sort of like, I had it out with Jesus during the prayer vigil, because a part of my call story actually was having it out with Jesus during the prayer vigil that I grew up in. I took this from my home congregation. The same guy who drew the diagram, Pastor Paul Henry Reichert. God bless this man. If I can be half the pastor he is, I will consider myself a amazing success. But he started this prayer vigil at our church, and I had it out with Jesus one year, right before I decided to give up and go into ministry. We've been playing the tug of war, and that Good Friday, Jesus won. But you'll hear my full story at another time too. But those moments where you just kind of dedicate that quietness to prayer and that time and everything shuts down, about a half an hour in, you're like, by the way, while I've got your ear, we're going to talk. But the beauty is that we can yell at Jesus, right? Like, I know so many people who are like, oh, well, you don't put a question mark where Jesus puts a period. Oh, please. No. Yell, kick, scream. If Jesus can't take it, Jesus needs a new job. That's the beauty of our faith. To have a relationship with someone means that you can fight with them.
And I can tell you exactly what we were having it out over. I don't want to say I was like, I wasn't like yelling or anything. Like you said, it's okay too, I feel like, but it was right after one of the acts of violence or like a school shooting or some kind of act of terror or something. And I can almost remember like that it just brought up a lot, like being a teacher, being, seeing my kids go to, school every day and we, seeing all these things. It's a lot to like process sometimes. And when you see these things happen, you think to yourself, and I know that a lot of people think this way, it's like, how could there possibly be a God that's watching these things happen or letting these things happen? And I can remember a very specific instance when I was in high school where somebody was calling me out or calling us out, a group of friends that had went to this youth group, and they were like, how could you believe in a God that lets this happen? I think it was after, like very shortly after Sandy Hook.
Oh yeah.
Like, how could you believe in a God that would sit by and watch this happen? So when I was in that prayer vigil, I remember asking, like, why these things happen? Like, because I was like, they're right. Like, how could you sit by and like let these things happen or watch these things happen? And I remember the moment where I like had this light bulb come on, where it was almost like, God was talking to me through the Holy Spirit or through some, thing that I can't explain, but it was like, I'm not sitting by and watching these things happen, because you're not promised that these things won't happen. I'm watching to see how you're going to respond. And I'm watching to see how you're going to react. Are you going to curse my name and say, how can there be a God that sits by and watches happen? Or are you going to put on your big boy pants and go out and like make a difference or make a change or advocate for differences in whether that's policy or anything that makes a difference. I'm not sitting by and watching these things happen. I'm sitting by and watching how you're going to respond to these things happening. And that was almost like a call to action moment where I was like, I'm going to do everything that I can for my kids, my students, to advocate for their safety, for their well-being as a teacher. I'm not blessed to be a parent at yet this point in my life, but like one day when I am, like, I'm sure you can like share like how like scary it is sometimes to send your kids off to school.
We had that shooting right next to my kid's daycare earlier this year.
Yeah.
Where that young girl was killed in a dentist chair next door.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. And I'm with you. I'm like, I have this conversation with God and he's like, I'm not really letting it happen. You guys are.
Yeah.
You could reach these people before these things get out of hand.
And to know that you also have in God the Father, a God who says, I know my child was killed too.
Also, yes.
By an act of violence. Not by an accident, but by an act of violence. To know that God's able to sit with us and to say, I'm not sitting by, but I am sitting with you. And, the question is always, where were you when this happened? We had someone in our congregation who was killed in the Virginia Beach shooting. And I remember at her funeral, that was the theme was, where was God in all of this? God is there crying with the people who are weeping. God is there fearing with the people who are fearing. God is able to be in that moment because God gets it.
He is a crucified God. He was here. He suffered. And that's a major, maybe my last leap of faith was that component right there. And finally acknowledging that he gets it with me. He's here.
Yep.
He feels it too.
Without that judgment, right? I mean, even Jesus on the cross says, my God, why have you forsaken me? If Jesus, the Son of God, can go there, certainly we can be like, Jesus. So the school shooting, what the heck?
Yeah. What was that?
Right?
Even the night before, please don't make me do this. Please take this cup.
Right? Anything but this, right? Like, I'll work in a soup kitchen. I'll do Jesus bargaining would be fantastic.
So, Andrew, you shared what was most positive about coming from Presbyterian to Lutheranism with the grace upon grace that you can't do anything about. What was the most difficult piece of it? It's probably also that accepting that, but there had to be some piece of theology where you're like, I don't know about this.
It wasn't the theology. It was
the pastor.
It was the weird pastor.
It was the weird pastor.
No, it was the family. This is a touchy subject, but we will tread lightly. We will be good.
Every family has their struggles.
Yes, believe me.
It's nothing bad, but my family, I was the 5th generation that had gone to Long's Run. So for my mom and my sister and I, it was a very lengthy and very difficult conversation to have. We didn't want to leave. We didn't want to go. But what was taking place at the time, at that moment, that's all the further I'll go. But what was taking place at the time was just not healthy spiritually for us. We were spiritually exhausted. That's the best way I can put it. Our cups were empty. We weren't getting what we had hoped from going to church on Sundays. And it just got to the point where we had to make that decision. Even though we were 5th generation going to this church and like we had grown up in this church, I had pretty much every major faith experience up to that point in my life. It wasn't a healthy environment anymore. So we ended up making the decision to reach out to Pastor Eric, and thank God we'd already actually known him through like youth group, because that he was kind of like our first stop. We didn't go anywhere else. We didn't reach out to anybody else. It was just kind of like, that was like my first go-to.
I actually meant to try out other churches, and then I just kind of never left here because my wife didn't want to speak to the pastor the first time we came here. She's like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I don't want to be involved. And I'm like, I walk right up to him. I'm like, hi, I'm Josh.
He is very intimidating.
And,
I'm a scary dude.
And then after an hour, I'm like, all right, next week we can try out this or that. She's like, no, I kind of like it there.
Yeah.
I'm done. It ended up being the right decision for our family. She knew better than I did on that one.
So did you guys know anybody in the congregation? Or did you just show up someday?
Dan Dietz and his wife, I've spent a lot of
We love you, Dan.
my life with. And I texted him one day. Usually, I'm a researcher, Andrew. So I researched all these different denominations, differences, kind of service styles. But I was at such a desperate point in my life. I just needed to go somewhere. And I just asked him, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to show up and let God take the wheel. With basically no faith, I was just like, you know what? If this is real, he'll handle it, and he did.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was weird, but here we are. Now I'm doing a Christian podcast.
Right.
You never know.
Never thought it'd be going right.
It's awesome.
Never thought it'd be
those are
allowed in a church.
Yeah, those are the best. Those are the best kind of stories. And that's what I would say to like anybody who's listening. Like I've tried on Facebook, like reaching out to people saying like, please just give it a chance. Just like, and maybe not one Sunday, because you can't get everything out of one worship service, but like just give it a chance. Like give Pastor Eric 5 minutes. I swear he will change your perspective. He will. And even if he doesn't change your perspective, he might explain something in a way that's just never made sense to you before, or at least like maybe help you, I don't know, shed some light on your journey and find where you do belong, even if it's not here, which we would love to have you here. And once they get you, they got you.
Well, and that's one of the things that we always tell people in like new member classes is we're going to give you all the information, take the paperwork home with you, think about it, because church membership is one of those things where like, would we love to have every pew in this church filled? Absolutely. But the bigger concern is, are you somewhere where you can grow in faith?
Right.
Are you somewhere that's feeding you? Because as much as, like the three of us are fed by Lutheran faith and Lutheran liturgy and this community, it's a lot like being in a family, not everyone works in every family. And so, like you may find out that, oh, wow, look, I actually am Presbyterian. Mm-hmm. I actually am Pentecostal. I actually am Baptist. And COVID did that gift for us. When COVID came around, it kind of reshuffled the entire church. Every church saw it a bit, where when everyone kind of went online and all you got was the theology of your church and you didn't get the community anymore and all the traditions, and people went, I don't really believe that. Mm-hmm. Or they started looking, listening to different podcasts or different videos and being like, oh, I'm Lutheran.
Oh my God, I'm a Methodist.
Right. How will I ever tell my mother? But, back to your point though, like when it's the how will I ever tell my mother type of a thing, there's a heritage to faith. Like my family, I'm first generation, like truly Lutheran in my family, because my father was kind of sort of a mix of Catholic and United Brethren. And my mother went kind of to a Lutheran church. She grew up in a very poor area of Pittsburgh, and they had this program after school she used to go to. But as a cradle Lutheran, like we're first generation. But you do have, like my wife comes from a very Catholic family. No one ever says a very Lutheran family, right? It's a very Catholic family. But generations and generations of Catholics. And when she became Lutheran, that was one thing she said was, I also don't want to like just throw off my family heritage, whether that's in a church or in a denomination or something. This is a faith that was passed from my great, great, great grandparents all the way down. And now I'm like, peace out. Mm-hmm. That's hard. That's really hard.
It was a very difficult conversation, and it was we're still dealing with a little bit of like the repercussions of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to say that we're like not, like that we're completely like ostracized from our family or whatever, but it was a conversation that we had with like my mom and my sister and I, and we like I said, I was the lone holdout. It took me a couple weeks. I didn't feel pressured at all. I just felt like it aligned most closely with what I believed. And I can't say that our family was like happy about it, but like we're still dealing with a little bit of like the repercussions of it. It's not that they're mad at us. It's just like, like how could you just throw away like this this, you're fifth generation in this church, and like, how could you just throw away your history and, the family history and all this, these traditions and stuff. It's not that I'm throwing it away, but it's what I needed, and it's just most closely aligned with like what I believed and what I thought, and I so far don't have any regrets. Hopefully not anytime soon, but yeah. It's just,
I do wonder as I get older, my kids get older, and they meet new people, and maybe they want to try at a new church one day. If I'll be precious about it, I'm like, we're Lutherans. That's what we are. We're a Lutheran family. You're not going to a Presbyterian church. Probably not. I wouldn't do that, but I might. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I've had this conversation with like with my counselor as well. Like, I don't know. It's a little bit of like the era that they were born in. It's almost like you have to stick to like what you know.
Yeah.
I like to think that our generation is a little bit more like
we're more
open to.
Yeah, we're not as loyal to our companies or our churches or anything.
We're more loyal to like what's right for us and what
truly
is best for us right now.
What feels and is true, I think, is what we're following. What feeds us.
Well, and there is a bit of, how to best put this, there is a bit of understanding that the faith that's been passed down from generation, like you are fifth generation Presbyterian, but you are like 75th generation Christian, right? I mean, like that Christian faith getting passed down. We get so stuck on our particularities. I'm Lutheran, I'm Methodist, I'm Baptist, I'm Catholic, I am,
these are rules we made up.
Right. Fill in the denominational particularity there. But we're Christian above that we're not following, like as Lutherans, we're not following Martin Luther. We're looking at scripture, at faith through that lens, but we're not following Martin Luther. We're following Jesus. We are Christian before we are anything else.
And that's what I'll say about like going from Catholic to Presbyterian to Lutheran. You asked that question earlier. Like, it wasn't more about the theology. It was just kind of like, it's kind of cool to have like different perspectives. Like you've seen a Catholic mass, you've seen a Presbyterian service, and now you've gone through a Lutheran, like the liturgy and all the things like that. It's like,
I'd like to do that, but you just heard him tell me no.
He's got
we have
shackled,
rules.
Chained and shackled.
We have rules. This is like a gang. Once you are in, you are
You're in for life.
No, it is really cool to see different. And I told him a couple weeks ago, I actually cheated on St. John.
He was thinking of us the whole time.
Did you go to a random Thursday night service somewhere?
Well, no, I actually on a Sunday, my family was working, like my mom was working, and my sister had plans, and I just bought a house in Salem.
Oh, so congratulations!
Thank you. Well, to drive clear from Salem to here, that's about a 45 minute drive. So I'm like, I'm going to try to find somewhere closer to like Salem and try a different one. And I told him, I was like, it didn't feel the same. Like they didn't sing the same hymns we do. They didn't do the same liturgy we do. They didn't welcome me in the door. It just didn't really feel.
Was it Lutheran or was it? Oh, wow.
It was a Lutheran church. And I remember thinking like, I was picturing like, you go to any Catholic church in America, you're going to get the same thing.
It's like a McDonald's, everything's
right?
standard.
Yeah. For the most part, you're going to get much of the same thing. It was very different, down to like the way they sang certain parts of the liturgy and like the way the service was structured.
Lutherans are more of a Baskin Robbins. Like we've got 31 flavors, like McDonald's one thing, like we're Baskin Robbins, man. We are sweet, we are tasty, and there are 31 flavors of us.
But I will say, like, it was very interesting to see how they did it, because like they did the service, because it was still the same liturgy that we're used to. It was just the way they did it was so different.
Wow.
I prefer the way we do it, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't beautiful in its own way. This church was
and
gorgeous.
They love it there.
It had these gorgeous stained glass windows that like the light was shining through them, so it like reflected on the altar and like
That's
up
cool.
on the area. It was a beautiful service, a beautiful church, and everything. It was just
it's not
I
home.
like it here. Yeah,
it's not home.
But yeah.
Good. Well, we are starting to kind of run out of time here, I see. So, Andrew, we had like 600 other questions we wanted to ask you because you are a fascinating
When I was looking at the
person.
questions, I feel like we kind of
He covered them all.
We did, but I've got more.
Oh.
So maybe we'll do a second part and have you back in a little while
I'm
too.
loving this, by
So-
the way. Like, can I become like a full-time like part of this?
Isn't this fun?
You can have
This
my
is so
chair.
much fun.
Right?
And then now when you share Facebook clips, you can say, also, we have a podcast.
Yeah, we have a podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
I was on it. Look, listen.
Right? We might lead
Plug,
off with
shameless plug.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
I do actually. So tomorrow we are having a meeting, so that's why I kind of I wrote that down. In Salem, there's a young adult group called Kindred that I recently joined. It's for young adults ages 19 to 35, kind of that like.
We're on the edge of that.
Yeah.
We who, Bubba?
Well, when I know when I
Look
went
at that in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, when I went the first time, they were like, we're thinking about like cutting it. We might like do 2 separate groups, like 19 to 25 and then like 26 to like 35. And I was like, why does that make me feel sick that I'm in the second, like I'm in the higher of those 2
Dude, I aged out
cuts?
of it.
I've got a year left. Actually, I have 3 months left.
Yeah, but it was something that was totally out of my comfort zone, something that I would, my old self probably in 100 years would have never gone, but I saw it. It was it was shared by the Salem First Friends like Facebook page. It came up on my Facebook page. I had just moved to Salem. I was looking for something to just kind of keep myself busy. So I showed up at this coffee shop on a Monday night, and they welcomed me with open arms, and
Nice.
I've been going ever since. And it's just nice to talk to people your age, because when you're our age, it just feels like, I don't know, being a Christian was sort of faux pas. Like when I was in school, like you didn't talk about it.
It's
Like-
still amongst my peers. It is not a good topic.
No, and it's so hard, especially for like, I don't know if I want to say this, but like young adult men even. I mean, just young adult men who are Christians just have a hard time sometimes comfortably speaking out openly about their faith. And that's one of the things that's really cool about this group and about like kind of this movement or this revival that's going on right now. Like I know like the Buckeyes, like they have like the Buckeye revival going on where they're like baptizing people on campus and like holding these events, and like they pray before every game. Like it's so cool to see that, because it gives, and I see it firsthand in my classroom where, you know, we can't legally talk about faith, but like the kids talk about it, or you know, the kids are wearing Buckeye revival shirts, or they're talking about like, oh, you know, me and my friend, I took my friend to church with me on Sunday or whatever. Like when I was in school, like we would have never.
No.
And it wasn't that we were ashamed of it. It was just like this, like, I don't know if we were afraid or if it was just like, it was just something you didn't talk about.
We weren't taught to.
Yeah.
We were
was
not
just,
taught
it's so
to
cool
share
to
our
see
faith.
like this kind of like revival. And like I said, even if it's not Lutheran, like if you go to church and just learn to know Christ or get to know Christ, like how can that be a bad thing? How could it possibly be a bad thing if you at least just get to know Christ? It doesn't have to be at a Lutheran church, doesn't have to be at a Catholic church, just get to know Christ. And so, yeah, that's my plug for Kindred. We're meeting tomorrow night, 7:00 at Cast Iron, which is like the soda shop in Salem.
Which nights is that? Because by the time this gets released, it's no longer
that's
tomorrow
true.
night.
That's
so
true.
is it Monday
We
nights?
meet the first Monday of every month, and then we meet the last Thursday of every month. So
Nice.
it's kind of like a beginning of the month, end of the month thing. But if you're out there and even if you're in like the Lisbon, Salem area, we meet usually at like a local coffee shop or like a local business this week, or, you know, this one just happens to be at Cast Iron. But yeah, it's been really nice just to talk to people my age and like be able to share a little bit more about your faith when you are around people that are more like-minded and
That's
age-wise.
nice.
I get that out of the Bible study here at St. John's, or St. John, not
There you go.
S.
I
got it
was
right.
about to
I got
call
it
you
right.
out.
I got it right for one.
That's
was
my
about to
that's
call
my
you
pet
out.
peeve. I try and cut the
That's
S off of everyone.
That's the Yinzer in me. We add an S to everything. But
Downtown.
So we end every one of these interviews with our questionnaire. So these are the same questions we give
Right.
everyone. So Andrew, what is your favorite Bible story?
Okay, so like I put a lot of thought into this, and it's the most cliche thing. You're gonna roll your eyes and you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh!"
love John 3:16.
Yeah,
it's going to be the prodigal son. You're going to steal mine.
Noah's Ark.
No, it's the Christmas story.
Oh, there we go.
I love Christmas. Christmas is my thing. Anybody who hears this or watches this, they're gonna be like, "Yep," like Andrew's a Christmas guy. So I could sit in a Christmas Eve service in any church and listen to the Christmas story. And last year, I cried during Silent Night, like the candlelight service that we do. I grew up doing that at Long's Run, so that when I came to St. John, that was something that I was like so happy that you guys did, because I didn't know if you did it or not. I didn't know if it was like a tradition at like a certain kind of church or whatever, but like the Christmas Eve, like just lighting that candle and singing Silent Night and just feeling the peace and the joy of like Christ's birth and just the feeling of Christmas. Like, Christmas is here. So I could listen to the Christmas story. I could probably recite it to you. But
I know who's reading at the service this year. Huh? All right. What feeds your faith?
I think we touched on it already, but like our worship service, I definitely feel like closest to God when I'm in our sanctuary and I'm praising and worshiping. When I step out of here and go about my week, it's almost like I don't try to, but I get so preoccupied and like and with my job and like just the stresses of everyday life that I don't do as much as I would like to. So when I'm here, it's like I'm here for a purpose and I get to praise and worship. And so that's really like what gets me through even like the toughest weeks sometimes. It's like you just wait until that Sunday and you just get your cup filled up again. Like,
nice.
So, yeah.
What drains your faith?
There's a lot of evil in the world, man.
Mm.
There's a lot of evil in the world. But like I said, Jesus and I had a good talk about it, but like you see a lot of evil things going on and, acts of violence and, in my profession, you see it firsthand with like just these little babies who like have no idea what's going on in the world. They just have this innocence about them. And you just try to protect them as best you can from this evil, ugly world that we live in sometimes. And it's very draining sometimes, but that's where you rely on your church family and pastors and counselors and everybody who kind of upholds you and fills your cup back up, because I don't know. Yeah. My voice is starting to go. I'm a little bit sick. Sorry.
Sorry. And lastly, when you get to heaven, what do you want to hear God say?
Oh my gosh. This is deep. Maybe like, was it worth all that stress? Like, here you are, you made it. Like, I told you. Like, maybe, like, I thought about this one a lot too, but like, just like.
You hear God say,
welcome.
You were good enough,
Yeah.
Andrew. You were good enough.
Like, was it worth all that stress? Like, look, you made it. You're here.
Nice.
Like, that was a really deep question. Like I was thinking about, like, I was like, how am I going to answer this? Like, like it's true. Like, I hope like you just open your eyes and he's like, you're here. Like, so yeah.
Well, Andrew, it has been a real pleasure to get to talk to you today. We could spend hours.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We will. We will do that.
We will definitely have you back, but thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. And now, dear listener, as you go on your way, may Christ go with you. Christ before you to lead you. Christ behind you to encourage you. Christ beside you to befriend you. Christ above you to watch over you. And Christ within you to give you peace.
Amen.
Amen.